Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning, talking marriage. And we are visiting with Bay McFarland, who is the founder of an organization called Mary's Advocates, a very pro-family organization. Good morning, Bay.
Thanks, Susie. Thanks for having me.
Interesting background on Mary's Advocates. First of all, what is it?
Mary's Advocates is a nonprofit educational organization that I started to uphold marriage in light of no-fault divorce.
And your passion for bringing this organization into being was what? What's the background?
I grew up a serious Christian. I've always gone to church, and my husband and I married in the church. And then he left and filed for a no-fault divorce. And to describe it, I was kind of scratching my head, wondering what is going on, because this all felt so unjust and so wrong, and I was trying to understand what was happening to me in no-fault divorce practices, and I learned that there was a lot of other people having the same experience I was having, so I started publicizing what I was finding.
And this goes beyond a woman scorned. You're talking about he left, but there were more people involved by that time. You were married for several years, and you have 4 children, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit at that point. What point in this union did he decide to go?
We had been married for about 12 years, and we had 4 children ranging in age from 2 to 11. I was still breastfeeding my baby before bedtime, and he left. It was kind of mysterious to me. I still to this day do not understand what really motivated him to leave. There were obviously tensions in our marriage that were getting more and more accelerated, but there was no danger, there was no physical abuse, there was no adultery, no one was a dangerous alcoholic or addicted to drugs. And I wanted him to go to someone who had experience helping couples, but once we entered into the civil divorce forum, it was a nightmare.
What did you find when you entered into the legal part of this?
Well, someone recommended a lawyer to me. It was a relative, and his advice to me was you need to file in the domestic relations court in order to get money. Because I was a stay-at-home mom, I had been a homeschooling mom, and I did need money because my husband left. And the lawyers all seem to have in mind that everyone, of course, is going to get their divorce, and all they care about is how everything is going to get split up.
Let's start right there. There's nowhere in the process when you're working with attorneys that they're not trying to work towards reconciliation?
Well, my experience was there was none, and we even have an Ohio law where anybody, married or already in the divorce system, can ask the court to order someone to go to conciliation counseling. After my 3rd lawyer, I learned of that one, and I requested it, but they told me the courts never order it. They never will order anyone to go to conciliation counseling.
I'm thinking there are so many people who have your story and they share your story, Bay. What if someone, and it could be husband or wife, comes home and says, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm ready to go and move on, and we need to part ways. And the other person, the person being left, doesn't want it. What is there in place for that person?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is from a Christian perspective. We are called to forgive as Christ forgives the people who were crucifying him. So one reaction could be anger and resentment and revenge. And that is not what we are called to do if we got married in any kind of Christian affiliation. So that's one. How can I soften my heart as much as humanly possible towards this person who wants to betray and run away? Then in the civil system, what the divorce lawyers didn't tell us is that in Ohio, getting a divorce just because you want to throw in the towel and you feel the love is lost is illegal.
Okay, say that again. I think that is stunning.
Yes. In Ohio, if my spouse says, I want to be divorced because, I'll just call them soft reasons to make it simpler, don't waste words. Mm-hmm. If my husband wants a divorce for soft reasons, he has no basis to go to the state of Ohio and request a divorce. A divorce judge cannot issue a divorce unless there are grounds for divorce. And in Ohio, these are spelled out. There's like 6 or 7 of them. Most of them are fault-based. If Bay had been committing adultery, my husband would have grounds for divorce. If I was dangerously abusive to him and the children, if I was in prison for a long time, if I had been married to somebody else, these are reasons, like I'm mixing them up with annulment, but fault-based reasons. So if the husband wants the divorce because he's unhappy, there's only 2 ways in Ohio law that he can get the divorce according to the state.
And those are?
One is if he says we're incompatible and I remain silent. Oh. If he says we're incompatible and I say, no, we're not. I have every confidence that this marriage can be happier. We just need help from those who are experienced helping couples. Then he doesn't have a grounds for divorce. The only other kind of no-fault divorce is when the parties are separate and apart for a year. But if a husband was to leave a wife and the wife doesn't want him to leave, he's committing a first-degree misdemeanor, abandonment. In Ohio law, if you leave your spouse for no fault-based reasons, it's a first-degree misdemeanor in the criminal court. I mean, I didn't know anything about courts.
Okay, maybe they could go to jail for wanting a divorce.
The way the Ohio law is written, first-degree misdemeanors get, I think it's 6 months in jail or a fine. And this is on the Pro Families Ohio website. Mary's Advocates is my parent organization, but I put together all this information in Pro Families Ohio that the law says that someone who commits a first-degree misdemeanor is supposed to be sentenced by the judge, and the judge's job is to try to do something that would make the person stop doing the offense. I mean, think of some other kind of crime that someone might do.
Rob a bank.
Well, that's a big one. Think of a medium one. Like maybe someone keeps parking their car in your front yard. Okay. Or let's say your neighbor parks their car perpendicular on your driveway and locks you in your house.
Yes. Okay.
That's something ridiculous, but I'm sure that's some kind of breaking a law, trespassing or something.
I'm sure you can't do that.
Right. So if your neighbor did that to you and you went to the court and said, "Look what my neighbor's doing," the judge would be trying to get your neighbor to stop doing that.
Exactly. Upholding the law.
Yeah, because that's not okay.
It's not okay. That's right. So you're saying that this would be the same kind of thing, that a judge's job then is to uphold the law and basically say this person is asking for a divorce. However, this person is saying, no, I want to work this out. Then the judge would have to say, sorry, no divorce.
Well, there's 2 different forums here. We have domestic relations court, which is under the umbrella of common pleas, and we have criminal court, which is even a different building. If you've ever gotten a traffic ticket, you're going to municipal, where small first-degree misdemeanors would be dealt with in the criminal court. In the criminal court, the judge should say, go home, Mr. Abandoning Husband, and if you don't go home, well, fact of the matter is you've already committed this first-degree misdemeanor because there's no basis for these terrible things. There's nothing wrong. You're just doing it because you're unhappy. In the domestic relations divorce court, it's a different court system. Husband could file for divorce and say he wants a divorce because you're incompatible. Wife says, no, we're not. Case should be dismissed.
Yes.
And then there's another piece about getting money, which was my situation. I was a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. My husband left. He drained all the bank accounts. I had no way to pay any of the bills, and he wasn't there anymore. In common pleas court, there's something about necessaries. Husband and wife contract towards each other in marriage, respect, fidelity, and support. If one spouse is reneging on their obligations to provide, the legal word is necessaries, a third person can help. In my situation, if my dad had helped pay our mortgage, utility bills, gasoline bills, and I could show a history of husband always paying those would fall under the umbrella of necessaries.
Yes.
In common pleas court, my dad and I could have just gone and said, here's all the checks canceled, here's all the bills, father-in-law is paying everything husband used to pay. Hey, court, order husband to pay necessaries.
Yes.
And that's what the law allows. That's how the law is written. But instead, you get tangled up in divorce court.
And what does that mean?
Being tangled up in divorce court means that the state now has jurisdiction to determine how children are going to be split between 2 parents, how property is going to get split, and who's going to support who.
So evidently you saw this. You'd been so
after the
wronged.
fact.
Yeah, okay. And this is what spurred you on to start Mary's Advocates.
Yeah.
Who is the Mary you're referring to here?
I'm a Catholic, so it's always been Blessed Mother. My real name is Marie. My nickname is Bay. So that's what it came from, but it's just a common name also.
People wanting to know more information, because you're striking a chord with some listeners right now, I know. Where can they go to find out more of this?
If they want to know about the Ohio law, it's profamiliesohio.com. If they want to know about the mix of church and state, Mary's Advocates website has a section on marriage, and it talks about some of this.
I think before we move along from Ohio law, I think it's amazing someone that aids, abets, conspires, or causes another to commit an offense can be charged with complicity. So not just the abandoning spouse, but...
Well, let's say it's a woman who gets an infatuation with some guy she meets. She goes and moves in with the man she's infatuated with. She has abandoned her husband and children. She's committing a first-degree misdemeanor. The man who she's doing it with is committing complicity. And it even gets more intriguing. What if my husband went and talked to a divorce lawyer who said, oh boy, Mr. McFarland, is your wife going to agree you're incompatible? That's if he even said that. And my husband's like, no. He's like, well, the only way you can get your divorce is move out of the house.
That's complicity.
Exactly.
So that attorney could be also charged with complicity, and according to Ohio law.
According to Ohio law.
People don't know this, Bay.
I know they don't know it, and I'm trying to get people to know about it. We have a card right here. It's a 3x5 card that states some of these laws. And I went down to the Cuyahoga County Court divorce building, and I went to the help desk. They have a section there that's like, it'll give parties general advice. It can't give them detailed advice, but it's just a general place to go when you don't know anything. And I asked, would you make my card with these laws available in your help desk at the divorce court? And the lady said, I don't know. I'm a nobody. You need to go talk to the court administrator. So I go down to the court administrator's office. I leave my card with the receptionist saying, I want to know whether you guys would make this information available. Because if the court is truly interested in following Ohio law and these laws were followed, they'd have less cases.
That would
because a case would be dismissed right away.
Yes.
Or if a woman just needs support, well, we don't need to be having the state decide what should happen with children. Just have a relative or family member help you through financially. Just go to common pleas court. It's a simple case. Did someone used to contribute financially to the home and they quit? Well, those are necessaries. We're not talking about vacations. We're talking about utility bills.
Right. Is there no longer alimony and child support
There
required?
is. If you're in domestic relations court, the kind of support that they would give, they would call spousal support or child support. But what I'm saying is a lot of families in trouble don't have any business even being in divorce courts.
Yes.
They should be in criminal court and common pleas court because they don't have grounds for the divorce courts to even have authority over families.
Or counseling.
Or, well, they should be in counseling also. Counseling for someone who respects the intentions when the parties first went into the marriage. And in Ohio law, it says parties who marry contract towards each other, respect, fidelity, and support. That's Ohio law. It's also Christian principles.
Yes, yes. Something else that you said I want to swing around to, you're talking about splitting up the children. Let's touch on that.
Well, I think of the wisdom of Solomon.
Yes.
He was going to cut a baby in half. And in divorce court, they will split children between two parents. And for a parent who recognizes that the best way to raise children is mom and dad cooperating to have one household, for a parent who never even would agree to conceive these children, I say there still are some gentlemen out there who don't spill their seed in a woman and have children unless they're going to have a family for those children. These gentlemen are finding themselves on the defending end of a no-fault divorce, and they're being told your children are being taken away from you. I mean, we all know these men. Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything bad enough to merit separation. Their wife just lost the loving feeling. And they have their children cut in half between mommy and daddy. Mm-hmm. So that's the jurisdiction of the state. But if we were following the Ohio law and wifey had an infatuation with somebody she met and she wants to dump daddy, the only way wifey cannot be a criminal is if she comes up with some kind of separation plan with the husband that he agrees with. The innocent party has the upper hand in negotiating power. Otherwise, wifey, who's infatuated, is going to be committing a first-degree misdemeanor.
Right, right. We're speaking with Bay McFarland. She is the founder of Mary's Advocates. Really interesting information coming for you on the other side of these words. Stay with us. You're listening to Our Community.